And joining us right now for our extended preview here of tonight's State of the Union address, it's Representative Jim Jordan, Republican of Ohio and chairman of the very influential House Freedom Caucus. There you go. You'll hear it. Well, no, they don't play that in the House, do they?
No, they really don't.
They just
and
applaud.
They certainly don't play it for with our. For
yeah, I know. It made it sound like we were. I don't know. Is there an announcement you'd like to make, Congressman Jordan?
No, not at all.
There aren't enough candidates for the nomination as it is. You could just jump in there. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Good to be with you.
All right, so the president is going to, from all indications, he's going to do a non-traditional State of the Union tonight where he's not going to talk to Congress about what he hopes to achieve in the legislative session with the cooperation of the legislative branch. Oh, I don't know, the branch of government that actually writes laws. No, apparently, according to these write-ups that we're seeing, he's going to stand up there, talk about all the great things he's already done, and then, I guess, project other executive actions he plans to do. What are you going to do about that?
Well, the executive actions are out of control. We all understand that, and we need to step forward and hold him accountable as best we can. Sometimes that means going to the courts. Other times it means using the powers we have in the legislative branch, namely that would be the funding power. But I think also just drawing attention to it. This president has been divisive. This president has systematically went after your most cherished rights. I mean, I always talk about they use the IRS to go after your First Amendment free speech rights. They use Obamacare to go after your religious liberty rights. Of course, tonight he's going to talk about going after your Second Amendment liberties. And instead, we should be focused on making sure the border is secure and terrorists aren't coming into this country and doing Americans harm. So I think he's not in tune with the American people, but we'll see what he says tonight.
And how do you feel about the fact that he seems to be doing things by executive fiat? As you said, it seems out of control, especially it seems now he's moving, after having done this on immigration, etc., he's now moving forward to do things that are, some would say, extra-constitutional on the issue of guns.
Yeah. I mean, he's just wrong, and we gotta say that. We got an election coming up, as you mentioned at the start here. That's pretty darn important. This will be front and center in that debate. And most of this year, frankly, is going to be about who's going to be the next president of the United States, and not going to be about the actions I think that this president takes, or dangerous as they may be. So that's got to be the focus, and I think that will be the focus. Speaker Ryan has talked about how we actually should pass things in the House of Representatives that I think show the distinction, the difference between us and them, the difference between Obama and Clinton and where Republicans would like to take the country. And I think that, of course, will be a big issue this year, frankly, regardless of what the president may or may not say tonight.
And what kind of reception do you think he's going to get, given the fact that among many House members, conservative House members there in the House of Representatives, they are not going to be very receptive to some of the things that there's a great deal of tension between the legislative and the executive branch.
Well, I mean, look, we'll give him the reception that's appropriate for the president of the greatest country in the world. We don't agree with his policies, but he's still the president, so it won't be anything rude, of course. But are we going to be standing up all the time cheering for his policies? I doubt you see that happen. But my attitude is, let's go listen. Let's hear what he has to say. Where he says things that make sense for families across this country, we'll be in agreement with that, and you'll see us applaud. Where he doesn't, we won't. I think that's sort of the nature of how these events work. And then let's see what the policies actually entail.
Congressman Jordan, we had a very public fight in the House of Representatives over the last several months to find a new speaker. It's kind of unprecedented, really, for the speaker to step down, as John Boehner did, in the middle of a term. There was a lot of discussion about who that speaker would be. We finally fell to Paul Ryan, of course. Do you find it, curious that instead of having Speaker Ryan give the response on behalf of the opposition party, I mean, he's the high-profile man. He's been chosen to combat President Obama on the other side of the negotiating table for the next 12 months. Why isn't he giving the response instead of South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley?
I don't know. We have to ask Paul. I think Governor Haley is fine. I think sometimes the response from the opposition party gets more attention than maybe it deserves. This is really about the President of the United States coming and giving the State of the Union. That's the most important thing, and what he says or doesn't say is I think what the evening's about, and you're going to hear all kinds of critiques and support for those statements. So I don't know that that's such a big deal.
Would you say Governor Haley properly reflects your Freedom Caucus in the House and ideologically? And
We'll see what she says. She's a pretty conservative governor, and so look, I think that's what the American people want, is someone who's in any position of importance right now in public life. We're going to stand up for the principles that made our country great, stand up for the principles that are contained in the Constitution, and defend those. And that's what we try to do in the Freedom Caucus. I think that's what our party needs to make sure we demonstrate and show this year as we're getting ready for an important election come November.
Our guest is Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio, and I'd love to ask you about one of your other roles, and that is sitting on the Benghazi Select Committee. There have been quite a few headlines over the last several days with regard to the latest emails that were released from the State Department, specifically one that suggested that Hillary Clinton directed one of her staff members to send a classified email on in a non-secured manner. What's your response to that? Is this something that you knew about? Is this a revelation to you?
So this is new to us. Look, we got all kinds of emails from the State Department and from folks that are connected to Libya, connected to Benghazi. This is not necessarily connected to that. So this is the first we had seen it.
Hold on, I got to stop you right there. You had not seen this email yet, and yet you already had Secretary of State Clinton testify before your committee. I would think you would have wanted to get some answers about this email with her under oath.
Well, yeah, we do, and I think this email is very problematic when she says change the heading and send it anyway. I think that is problematic. But we've got all kinds of emails from Senator Clinton that were problematic. One that we brought up in October was the one where she told the Egyptian Prime Minister, we know, not we think, but we know that the attack in Libya had nothing to do with the film. It was a planned attack, not a protest. So we got all kinds of problematic emails from this individual. This is just one more. But this one I think is pretty darn important because it seems to suggest that she said change the heading, send it anyway, even though it was labeled as classified.
Actually, she specifically said send non-secure. Congressman Jordan, are you going to call Secretary Clinton back before your committee again? It seems like she should answer to this under oath.
That's a call for Chairman Gowdy to make. There's been no talk of doing that. We are in the process of interviewing some. In fact, we got to interview today and tomorrow 2 other witnesses that are important. Last week, as you know, we had Petraeus and Mr. Panetta in front of our committee in a closed-door deposition format. And we're in the process of now putting together the report as we continue to work through witnesses. So we got 2 more this week, one this morning and one tomorrow morning.
All right. Well, that's great stuff. Thank you so much for joining us. We greatly appreciate it.
Always great to have you, Congressman Jordan.
Thanks, guys.
It'll be a stranger. Come back.